Hello, this is Doug Camplejohn, and welcome to Revenue Renegades. My guest today is Anis Bennaceur, who is the founder and CEO of Attention.com. Anis, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Very excited to be here. Great to connect, Doug. And hi, everyone.
So I guess to start off, just for everybody who is listening, give us just a brief bio on what is Attention and kind of how did you come up with the idea? What was kind of the founding moment?
Yeah, absolutely. So Attention.com is your system of AI agents for sales. We automate work out of your customer conversations. And that's just, a lot of people have been talking about top funnel AI agents, AI CRs, and so on. But there's so much to be built around, your actual sales, bottom of funnel automations, and there's so much to be built there. And so we've been just pushing the limits around that. How we came up with the idea initially was, so I wanted to solve some of the business pains that I had in the last startup that I had founded. I've been a founder for the past 10 years in New York City. The last startup that I founded was in the creator economy, a startup called Mixer. And, growing our sales at the time, we were selling job posting subscriptions to companies like Square, Camplejohn. So very enterprise focused. And a lot of the challenges that we had, especially as a formerly bootstrapped startup, Mixer, I had to really optimize everything. It was extremely painful to, survive out of your own profits. And so what I was realizing at the time was that we spent money on Salesforce, and Salesforce is authentic. Ramping up reps over calls to make sure that they don't say the wrong things or even improve was also extremely painful. And looking to the solutions at the time, this was 2020. Nothing was really doing anything that was groundbreaking at the time. So, that tied with, the announcement on July 19th of 2020 of GPT-3 coming out. That was kind of, an unlock in my brain where, I started playing with the API at the time and realizing that you could cheat some text to an LLM. So the first application that I built out of it was writing emails using AI at the time. So quite ahead of, times there, just sending cold emails using AI in 2020, 2021. And that was pretty big for me. And then when I met my co-founder, Matthias, who used to be my biggest competitor at the time, he had kind of a startup podcast. We grabbed coffee and he was a lot more into computer vision, so diffusion models. And we discussed a lot about what NLP can do at the time, and decided that we would start next startup together, Attention. And looking to all the different pains that we had, bottom of funnel was a big one. And we also very quickly realized that you could shoot an entire call transcript through, at the time you had to break it because of context windows, but still you could feed conversations to an LLM and then get a specific structured output. So that was a big unlock in our brains where we really realized that we could just autofill the CRM based on what was being said in the conversations, but also, provide coaching feedback to reps. Very quickly, we understood that the LLMs were not good enough to be providing coaching feedback, but also each company had their own ways to coach reps, and it was not as big of a pain point as filling the CRM. So yeah, big winning feature for us was, autofilling every field, every property in your CRM based on what was being said across the conversation and then across the deal.
Got it. So you were pretty early, like, the rest of the world didn't, or much of the rest of the world didn't really discover, OpenAI until, 3.5 and the launch there. It sounds like you were pretty early on. And was that, so you started in 21. When did you actually deliver the first product and start charging people for it?
Yeah. Business started September 2021. We had, our first, our MVP, we'll call it kind of like our V1 in the hands of design partners in the summer of 2022. We gave it away for free at the time, just 5 companies that help us iterate. And then um, we really hit the aha moment early November 2022. That was actually when or GT3 had this model called DaVinci 3 that was a step function better than DaVinci 2. That was the closest to what ChatGPT, 3.5 was at the time. And so there was an aha moment for our clients, with those better models, but also at the same time, the whole world woke up on ChatGPT. And we realized, in November of 2022 that we really had to move very quickly and come out of stealth and start charging clients at that point for what we had. So fast forward to, 2 months later, end of January of 2023, we came out of stealth with a TechCrunch article that was going over our seed round, but also what our product could do. And that's when we started selling to clients. And so we
Got it.
grew pretty quickly during that year.
So CRMs are notoriously messy, right? I assume it was a non-trivial challenge to be able to be able to take unstructured data from a transcript and parse it into structured data, and then B, map that into the appropriate fields in CRM. Tell us a little bit more about how did AI do that, and what are some of the challenges you faced in doing that?
Yeah, great question. So one of the things is that we realized, even up to this day, we know it, that most clients don't know how to prompt, right?
Mhm.
So what we did is we built within the product a structure that allowed you to manually input specific prompts. And so for a while, actually, we super served each client. We built those prompts on our backend. We didn't even let clients edit those or do anything about those, which was okay for a while, right? Like the timing related to the market was perfect because no one was even asking us how to edit the prompts. We were doing it ourselves. And then we're manually building each custom integration for clients and
Wow.
doing things that didn't scale. And
Yep.
so this was such an underserved need at the time that clients were giving us access to their own CRMs. And I'm telling you, sometimes about relatively large clients that, told us, hey, we'll give you just an account to our CRM, to our Salesforce or HubSpot, and you go in and do the mappings. And so we went in and did those mappings manually. And I think one of our strengths at the time, because we were super serving each client, we
Mhm.
could even sync with CRMs that no one could even sync with, right? I'm not even talking about at the field or property level, but even like sending a summary or a call reporting link to the CRM. And
Got it.
so we could sync even with, PyDrive. In addition, obviously, use Salesforce and HubSpot. We could sync with NetSuite. We can sync with like a lot more obscure CRMs, and that really allowed us to distribute very quickly and find kind of like different pots of growth over time.
Really interesting. You say in your bio, and listen, as a fellow entrepreneur, I know about the spin, but you talk about kind of growing revenue 10x in the first year. So if you launched in 23, and you don't have to say what the before and after numbers were, but just kind of give our listeners a little sense of like what were some of the go to market techniques you used, what worked, what didn't. Tell us about that first year of revenue.
Yeah, 100%. So we went from 0 to 1 million AR in about 10 months. At the time, it was really something incredible. I think that, half of these days with AI, you see startups do that in 10 weeks. But
Uh-huh.
anyway, what we did was really simple, right? We prioritized selling mostly to inbound clients that really wanted to come to us versus having to chase an outbound other companies. So, during the entire time when I was building, when we were building attention, I had a bot that would add our entire, ICP on LinkedIn, and I'd just get posting quite a bit on LinkedIn, and that just I was just posting about what AI could do specifically for sales. So at the time, it was filling your CRM, drafting automated emails, some growth hacks left and right. That got really, that got me to build my own audience of people who were fans of what we were building, and being ahead of the time there just really helped a lot. So posting on LinkedIn extremely easy, right? Nothing groundbreaking, but that got us to build a lot of trust and a strong brand within our audience. And then from there, what we did was, you know, we relied a lot on our clients to refer us to other clients. Even to this day, I would say 35% of our new organic leads come from referrals.
That's great.
Yeah, and that's without us even trying to hack the system or putting in referral mechanism in the
Mhm.
product. Just product market fit being your strongest ally there. And then when you're talking to your users and you're catching up, and I had to be our as the CEO, I had to be our BR, our AE, and our CSM.
Yep.
So
Yep.
catching with clients, after closing myself our first 200 to 300K of AR, that's when I started hiring AEs. But what we really systematized very well was when we were catching up with clients, asking them specifically after the classic NPS question if they are happy about the product, for specific referrals. And when you do ask for referrals, make them very specific. So say, hey, I saw that you used to work at company XYZ.
Mhm.
Could you connect me with a VP of sales over there? And you know what? Most times people will do it and they will refer you, and either people will actually buy from you, or people will say, hey, now's not the right time, but I like what you're doing. Let's maybe reconnect in a few months. And you keep them, the trick there is that you keep them on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
You get them to see the content that you're going to keep distributing over time, and then they're going to come to you when they're ready. I really do believe that unless someone's in a buying cycle, a buying motion, you should not chase them because you're
Yep.
going to waste everyone's time. It's going to be suboptimal.
So super simple, straightforward approach. I really like that. Kind of respecting the prospect's time and really letting the product speak for itself. How did you think about another huge challenge for startups is how do you think about pricing, right? How did you go through trying to figure out where did you land and how did you think about kind of what was the optimal price for what you were doing?
Yeah. I'd love to come with something really sophisticated and elaborate. The reality is, I took what Gone was charging and decided to charge $20 more, not less.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds good.
And we really bet we had a better offering at the time, even though today they're improving and building something pretty good too. So anyway, just look at what I did, what competition was doing, and
Yep,
just I really wanted from a positioning perspective to be positioned as a premium tool, not something that was gonna undercut
got it.
the comments on pricing. Today though, fast forward to 2025, because we've been rolling out all these AI agents that can automate the work of hundreds of people or dozens of people in your team. Um, we have been layering in a credit system, that we're still iterating on. But hey, for each $1,000 that you're going to spend with us in a given month, you're going to get 100,000 credits. Those credits are going to get consumed, and then if you're out of credits, you can still top up, the number that you're going to pay. And so that's kind of like that was the best way that we came up with something that would not disrupt our existing seat based pricing, with something that also allowed us to upsell for companies that wanted to roll out more agents.
There's a lot of talk these days about kind of uh, different pricing models, like outcome-based pricing. What are your thoughts on that for sales?
Yeah, for sales, what's really hard is that, okay, so attribution is the one thing that makes it really hard to base it on outcomes, right? Because you're mixing AI agents with actual humans, you can really know where success comes from, right? Uh, Someone might say, hey, we've been increasing our conversion rates, our win rates, because we've had stronger product market fit. We have been increasing our win rates because we just hired better AEs. So at the end of the day, you might be providing coaching feedback to reps at the end of their calls. It's really hard to say that your product is the one that really created that success, right? However, what you can do is say that your product really automated the work of, you know, let's say 10% or 20% of your workforce. And replaced, that number of FTs in terms of amount of work they have to do. So at the end of the day, really in our case and specifically for sales, because humans are going to be tied to the outcome, you should not be pricing, based on outcomes. I mean, for customer support, on the other hand, it's a lot easier because you're gonna have an AI agent do the end-to-end work.
I've seen the same thing, and, I've been scratching my head about this one as well. And support fits very nicely. I've seen companies like Intercom that is like, choose your path. Do you want to pay us per seat or do you want to pay us per case resolved? Kind of things like that I think are kind of interesting. Obviously, Brett Taylor's new company, Sierra, is doing much more of the outcome based approach. Salesforce, I think, is going to try that approach more with Agentforce. But yeah, I mean, other than the AI SDRs where they say, hey, instead of, paying in, hiring somebody for 80K, pay us 40K and we'll show you we can do that job. Still TBD as to whether that's really working or not. But I think that, that's the model. I think there's a lot of business model disruption stuff that is also coming. And I think that, I just I haven't heard it yet. So I'm kind of really curious like you are as to where that's going to shake out for sales. What do you think people are getting wrong about AI right now? Like there's a lot of, people, obviously everybody is talking about it, everybody's trying it, everybody's got a new buzzword, whether it's agents or multimodal or, the list goes on. What do you think are people getting wrong about AI today?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here, I think, that can be unpacked. But one that I've been thinking about quite a bit was people using the word agent left and right without understanding what it is. And in all humility, I do think that I do think we cracked it in a way, but and most people haven't really thought about it the right way. So let me get into this one. A lot of people are confusing what an AI enabled workflow is versus what an agent is, right? The AI enabled workflow will be something that's deterministic, that knows already its steps and will leverage some AI to execute a certain task. But all the steps are already pre-configured. The AI agent actually has a lot of agency to know exactly what should be the next steps that it should do. And so the agent should be able to create its own decision trees based on all the different potential outcomes and tasks that it has to do. And so I've been seeing a lot of people just describe agents in on, let's say, LinkedIn, or whereas those are just AI enabled workflows. Um, so that's in order to build an agent, I think it requires a lot more infra work than people think it does. So you're seeing people say, "Hey, I built my own AI agent on NA10." That's not an AI agent, buddy. That's an AI enabled workflow. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I think that everyone is talking about AI agents for sales, whereas, to talk about, let's say, AI SDRs,
Mhm.
whereas those are not AI agents for sales. Those are AI agents for growth, right? They're related to your top of funnel, to your growth. AI agents for sales are anything that is automating work. Starting from the moment you have a lead that's come in, you need to qualify them, you need to convert them, you need to nurture them, close them, and then upsell them. And so those are actually AI agents for sales. And so, yeah. And so I really think that people are not using the right terminology for those things where, AI SDRs are AI agents for growth.
I actually think, a lot of what people are calling agents are just a simple if this then that statement, kind of, it's like, okay. So you guys have, I think I just saw that you announced some agent stuff yourself for attention.com. Can you talk a little bit about what that is?
Yeah. So, all right. Over the past 69 months, But I've been, now that I hired an amazing VP growth and a head of sales in our team that are handling those pieces, that allow me to step back and go back into building mode. And so I did a lot, kind of like on the lab over the past 6 to 9 months, just building some AI agents internally, and also just talking with very smart sales leaders about all their manual workflows. The newest AI agents that we've released, so we built over 50 of those internally, and we're gonna release one a week, uh, almost let's say 2 a week, sometimes over the next year.
Okay.
These agents automate end-to-end work. So some of those, let's say, will auto build your knowledge base for sales enablement, right? Based on your sales conversation, right? A lot of people realize that these sales conversations, or ignore that these sales conversations are a gold mine of information that can really automate a lot of work for your core. So yeah, creating and updating your sales enablement knowledge base, automating action items, all sorts, right? You just so for that you have to we built a system of agents that connects with other agents and basically tell them, hey, you're the best agent qualified to do this. So we're gonna send you this task and you're gonna do it. And so all the different agents will include things like building a business case for you, right? Or for a specific prospect. And how do you do that? You have to capture all the conversations with that prospect. You have to capture all the emails with that prospect. All these are tied within the same deal that is existing in your CRM. And so you have that kind of like dual link between attention and your CRM to understand, based on an opportunity ID, what are all the calls and emails that are tied to that opportunity ID. You capture all of this, and then you have this source of truth, which is going to create your business case. Right. Wait seconds. Um, we also are releasing AI voice agents, right? Um, an inbound BDR that can qualify your prospects whenever they're below a certain ACV,
Uh-huh.
for example, or based on whichever criteria that you want to give it, and have it qualify leads for you. Um, AI sales engineers that can also, you just feed it your entire documentation, but also it has the entire context of the deal because the bot has been recording calls over the past, 10 conversations that you had with this prospect and
Yep.
knows exactly all the tech stack, all the challenges, all the goals of your prospect to provide the right answer in a sales call as a voice agent to a prospect, right? And I'm not saying that this is going to replace your sales engineer, your team's a sales engineer, but however, it will allow you to roll these out to lower ACV clients that
Hmm.
might still be technical, right?
Got it.
Um, I still think that there's a big TBD on AIAEs because it requires so much more coordination and work. But on more transactional, high velocity deals that could potentially happen too. And then yeah, just going back into traditional RevOps work, right? So I spoke about basically so far about AI enablement, AI reps. Now I'm going to talk about AI RevOps, which basically, all right, I want to understand, immediately all the closed ones for the past 10 weeks. I want to understand all of our closed loss. I want to understand, how is our brand evolving over the past 3 months versus last 6 months based on how clients were talking about us. And so having an AI agent there that can go analyze all of your conversations, which is extremely difficult to do. And my co-founder, Matthias, has done an incredible job over the past 2 years building our own agent that could analyze thousands of conversations within minutes per year. And so that's another piece, for RevOps that will automate the work of an analyst and give you results within minutes instead of weeks.
Sounds like you got the next year of LinkedIn posts queued up as well if you're releasing about a week. That's great. Yep. That'll be fun. What do you think about, I mean, one of the things that's interesting to me about agents is kind of interoperability. What do you think about kind of frameworks like we call it like Crew AI or marketplaces like Agent AI? What
Yeah,
HubSpot's been doing?
that's super interesting. So I think that really it's great because it opens up people's eyes on what agents can do.
Yep.
Um, in my opinion, you have to be very specialized to be able to do the job, right? So that kind of takes me back to people who are building note takers for everyone, right? And then you had a company like Zoom that goes out and rolls out their own, Zoom AI companion that crushes a lot of these like generalist players. But then let's say the customer success, sales, HR, you know, uh, agents for doctors and so on. The specialized ones are able to survive because they have such um, function-centric workflows that allow you to, stick with your buyer persona. Now, when it comes to specific agents, I do think that a company like OpenAI will release their own AI agents that are not buyer-centric, and that might steamroll to to take Sam Altman's saying around that, or their expression. That might steamroll a lot of the other players that are building generalists AI agents, right? I really think that is super important to focus on a narrow vertical use case and just be able to super serve your clients around those specific needs. That will allow you to really stick with your clients.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting thing to watch, and I don't have the answer, like most people, but I do think that there's this question of, do you end up with a lot of silos with local maximums, or do you end up having something where there's more of a marketplace kind of framework, whether it's an app store, app exchange, agent AI thing, or some hybrid of the two, right?
Yeah, I really think so. I think that if you're able to stick to your own vertical, you're never really gonna hit a maximum because the nature of work is so vast that you can keep expanding within your own lane. However, I mean, for me, it just seems evident that OpenAI is gonna roll out their own app store of AI agents. They already
Hmm.
have, their own app store of GPTs. They released Operator, right, with can interact with any interface. I wouldn't be shocked if in the next like months they release their own app store of agents, and that's gonna steamroll a lot of generalist players, and that's gonna force them to really focus on one vertical.
Yep,
And that's kind of like the more specialized you get, the better you become for your right clients, I think.
got it. What do you say? You obviously talk to lots of, even though you're out of the founder-led sales role, I'm sure you're still talking to lots of customers. What are some of the biggest challenges you're hearing today these revenue organizations are facing beyond just the kind of challenges that attention.com solves for them?
Yeah, a lot of the challenges that even I see within what attention tells me, right, from the conversations that we get, there is a little biased because it's going to be around what we solve. So even like getting proper CRM hygiene, understanding, depending on the persona that we're selling to, whether it's RevOps or enablement or sales leaders is always going to be around increasing conversion rates. Enablement is always going to be about understanding what people are saying around their market, their space, and RevOps is always going to be around like the hygiene piece, right?
Got it.
I think within the old agents side of things, you're not really solving a pain that is burning, but you're kind of like selling them the future. Hey, this is going to be your future org where we're not going to replace specific software, but we're going to replace future headcount that you're going to get. And so that argument works really well for top leaders, not necessarily for someone's day to day around,
Yep.
like a sales director. That's the first thing. The second thing overall is just people always struggle with getting top funnel, right? Like
Mhm.
cold outbound. Everyone says that cold outbound is dead. No one picks up the phone anymore. It's getting harder and harder to reach out even to warm leads because now everyone's got RP2D and or Unify, or what are those tools that will tell you who's visiting your website. And so growth is really about being ahead of the curve, and most people are not creative enough to get ahead of the curve. And whenever they figure out something new, it's already been tried out quite a bit, and the response rates are going to be extremely low.
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of something that I keep hearing and hearing about and reading about. I really think that at the end of the day, the companies that have been able to scale the fastest in the past few months have been the ones with the strongest product market fit.
Mm.
That's yeah.
Got it. Yeah, no, makes sense. Yeah, it sounds like me, you're a product person who, it all comes back to, if you don't have the right product, the rest of it doesn't matter.
Exactly. 100%.
You've had a very interesting career, starting off in banking, doing, marketing and growth for Tinder, doing another startup that was, kind of a version of LinkedIn for creatives, and now attention.com. Have any of the lessons you learned from these, kind of like Tinder or the banking industry, impacted your thinking at Attention?
Um, yeah. So investment banking made me hardcore, to be honest. We have a grind culture over here. We all work, we all come to the office every single day. Some people come to the office on Sundays.
Mhm.
We're really, let's put it this way. Investment banking sets you for, being a real warrior when it comes to building a work hard culture. So that's the first thing. And then obviously, paying attention to detail, make sure that, you triple check every email that you send, you triple check everything that you do. It's just kind of like a specific mindset and attitude that you have, that you get as a founder, and then you influence it top down across, the team. So generally, I never let things fly. I'm really tough. I get to be very nice to also their employees, but hey, if you're working if you're working hard and showing me that you're iterating, you're learning, you're getting better, then I'll be I'll be the nicest founder ever. The one thing that I just don't tolerate is failure of execution, or you know, um, people just not demonstrating hard work. Um, so that's kind of like the first thing. The second thing is Tinder was interesting. Tinder did not necessarily impact how I'm operating today at Attention, but it got me into starting Mixer. And
Uh-huh.
then with Mixer, I became a really good growth hacker.
Oh,
And that forced me into being extremely scrappy, because yeah, I had to bootstrap my last business. And
yep.
so today I kept, that scrappy mindset. And so that allows me, to be to keep this mindset of like the founder mode mindset, where I'll sit in every growth meeting with our head of growth, our VP of growth, and our growth guys, and come up with really smart hacks to grow in certain directions.
Got it. Got it. AI is, of course, touching everything in people's lives. If you could kind of automate one task in your life forever using AI, what would it be?
Look, if I could just, tell an assistant to do anything that I wanted to do, right? An AI agent that, yeah, more for admin stuff, not work related, but life related, that would be
Mhm.
amazing, right? Hey, take care of this for me. And then goes that and does it. Instead of like having to go on Perplexity or Google and then try to find like an answer to something and then do it manually. The reason why I'm thinking about this is that we changed offices about a month ago, and I still have not gone to USPS to update our head redirect address. And
Yep.
so here, I could just text something on my phone and say, "Hey, just update our redirect address at USPS," and that gets done for me. That would be incredible, right?
Yeah, I think that it's funny as a startup founder. When my last company got acquired by LinkedIn, I had never had a, full-time assistant. We were very scrappy, and suddenly I had this assistant, and it took me a while to really, because she would actually have to tell me, like, I could do your expense reports. I can book your travel for you, right? And stuff like that. And ultimately, I think that again, somebody who really is very knowledgeable is going to be hard to replace. But as you said, there's just so much of the stuff that if you just literally had agents where you're like, take care of this for me, and they went off and you kind of trusted their ability, I think that would be phenomenal.
Exactly.
Very cool. And what's something that you're passionate about that might surprise people?
So that won't surprise people, but I'm just passionate about growth in general.
Mhm.
That's just the one thing that I've always been really, really passionate about. Um, I would say that, okay, growing up, I was a hacker. I used to hack web servers for fun. And so that really kind of, you know, um, and I used to always love to try to get into places that I was not allowed to go to. And that, yeah, and so today, basically, I've been in a lot of energy thinking about how I can, like, outsmart other people and hack my way into uh the next uh level, right? Whether it's getting to a certain AR metric, or whether it's within even, yeah, distribution, top funnel, automating work. And so kind of like that hacking mindset is something that I think about night and day. Always, when people talk to me, I always start thinking about a million things, and very quickly kind of unclick or disconnect from what people are talking to me about, which kind of like drives my friends crazy. Uh, yeah, I think, yeah, and that's just because my brain just goes back into thinking about how to have things around to get to a fast route cut.
Maybe you also need the granola-like AI bot that's just listening to your friends' conversations where you can kind of, say, "By the way, here's what you just missed," right?
Yeah, yeah. I guess potentially attention could be that too. I guess. Yeah.
And then last question, what's kind of one thing you can't live without in your daily routine?
I would say, yeah, look, Freud. Hey, cookies. The strawberry peach ones are incredible. I drink those every day. Coffee. Those are kind of like my main ones. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, and eight sleep. Eight sleep to go to bed. Uh, like, massive shout out. Eight sleep is that's probably just completely changed how efficient I am during the day, because I sleep so much better now. And I would have not, if I whenever I travel and don't have any sleep in my room, which is in every single case, I guess. I just don't sleep as well. And so, yeah, AC just makes me sleep extremely well and gets me extremely dialed in when I go through a work day.
It's funny, I've heard the same thing, from friends, so I'm finally gonna get an 8 sleep as well, but that the problem is that when you travel, suddenly you're like, your expectations are so high and then you go down. So they've gotta go solve that. I'm sure a hotel chain should figure out how to just advertise that they've got 8 sleep on all their beds, and they do gangbusters.
100%. That would literally make me choose a specific hotel over any other
Yeah.
one at the sleep.
That's awesome. Well, Anis, it has been a pleasure talking to you. How can listeners help you out? How can, is there connections? Should they connect with you on LinkedIn, follow your podcast? What's the best way to help you out?
Yeah, 100%. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I accept everyone. Please don't send me a message when you connect with me, because otherwise, when I connect you, it ends up popping up in the 10 different LinkedIn tabs that I have open. So, yeah, just don't add any message and connect with me. That would be great.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time. Have a great rest of your week. And thank you to everyone for listening.
Thank you. This was awesome. Bye.